You tuned into this video because you've realized that getting attention does not mean that you are building connection with your audience. You can feel that, they can feel that. The number one reason why they come to your social accounts and they like and comment, but they don't buy is because there's a lack of connection. And the lack of connection is happening because you have an idol. Now, I'm not coming for you in this video. I am speaking from experience and how I personally help my clients in the Content Legacy program. So they build a genuine connection with their audience, which increases the trust and then increases their sales. There is somebody that you idolize, that you have put on a pedestal, that you have unknowingly made really important, and that has caused you to do one of two things. Either number one, not truly explore what it is you believe and what your values are, or number two, not express fully what you believe and what your values are. Our subconscious mind will not and cannot allow us to be in contradiction of something or someone that we idolize. And this is what is stunting your connection to your audience online. You have this inherent resistance against allowing anything to challenge what it is you believe. So you're rejecting information that is going to challenge you to truly express what you want to express. The reason why you aren't able to explore what you believe is because there is this fear that you have that if you go out and explore what it is you really believe and why your approach to solving this problem that you help your audience to solve, why that approach is different, you're now breaking a connection with this idol, with this person that you've put on a pedestal. I see this happening time and time again, and it's happened with me. There is this inherent need, oftentimes, for validation. And so when you see some top whatever guru in your industry, and you say, okay, this person has a lot of pull in the marketplace, they have a lot of clout. Maybe you've learned from that person, or they're just somebody that you have admired, and like I said, unknowingly put them on a pedestal. If you have a different approach, a different thought process, a different way of solving a problem, you're not going to want to truly express that in the marketplace because there is this part of you that is like, I cannot be in contradiction or disagreement with someone that I've put on this pedestal, that I have begun to idolize. Because you're looking for the alignment. You want that when people come to your page and see whatever kind of content that you're putting out, you want that people actually associate you with that person and associate you with having that kind of thought process. This is why the first step inside my Content Legacy program is all about identifying your edge. This is actually the layer where we strip down to the bare bones of what is your message. Because right now, you're not fully putting your message out there. You are standing on the opinions of someone else. And you are trying to convince yourself that what they're saying is true. And you're trying to convince yourself that the way they do something is also the way that you believe you do something. And that's just not the case. You have your own way of doing something. You have your own approach. You have your own thought processes. But that can't really be expressed because you have this fear of rejection. You have this fear of people not liking what you say. You have this fear of going against the grain and truly being exposed. And so that fear is what you have submitted to. Now, an idol is anything that separates you from God. I should have said that earlier. But an idol is anything that separates you from God. So if you've got an idol, that means that you have submitted to that idol. To submit means to place yourself under. When you place yourself under something, you are now under the authority of. That thing that you've placed yourself under can now control you, which means it can control your behavior. And so if there is somebody in the marketplace that you enjoy their life, you like looking at their content, they have a lifestyle that you might want to live or have something similar, then you're going to want to be in agreement with them on multiple levels, even in your way of thinking. And so you've now started to mimic and even imitate how it is you're putting out content because you don't want to be disliked. You don't want people to say, oh, that's too off kilter. You don't want to stand out too much because you're not really settled on why you believe what you believe in the first place. You've just been adopting someone else's opinion. And so this submission that you have means that that person's presence, whether you know this person personally or they're just somebody that you have admired on social, that person's presence is actually controlling and dictating your behavior. And that means it's dictating your expression. I see this time and time and time again. When you haven't taken the time to truly explore why your message is different, why your values and your beliefs are what they are, then you just end up adopting what all of these people are saying, and you're running a program that you don't even truly believe in. And now you're creating content to actually get people to believe what you believe, but you don't believe it. And this is the disconnect. This also happens when you start creating content, teaching people what you know, but you haven't yet truly applied what you know to your own life. There's no life application. And because there's no life application, now you don't have a connection to what it is you're actually doing. You don't have a connection to the information and the transformation that you're helping your audience to have. And so you start showing up online with a watered down vanilla version of you. It's like chicken that has no seasoning. It's dry. It's so dry because what you're attempting to do is just make yourself fit in. But thinking you're trying to make yourself stand out, but you're really attempting to make yourself fit in because you're still submitting to the fear. You're still submitting to how you think you need to show up in order to get the sale. All of that is causing you to repel the very people that you are meant to serve. This is so critical. So many people don't realize that you've put people on a pedestal. And the last thing you want to do is be in contradiction or think something different than what they think because you think they have it all together. Most people don't have it all together. And I'm not saying that we don't know what we're doing or that you shouldn't know what you're doing, but what I am saying is that what we put on the outside is not always reflective of what's on the inside. And so there are many people that do have this fake facade. They need you to believe something about them. And you might be falling for it. Don't fall for it. I have fallen for that before where I have seen someone's outer container and I'm like, wow, that person really has it all together. They're doing this, they're doing this. And then I've joined a container and then I start to realize that the stuff that they're teaching is either super fluffy or the stuff that they're teaching, I can tell they don't really believe it. But they have a way of putting out content that gets you activated because they play on this ego desire. They play on all the deeper desires of what they know you want. And they've got the words. They might even have some of the energy. But what they're doing is they're harping on the emotions of just making you believe that just by working with them alone, everything's going to click. I'm never going to say just by working with me alone, everything is going to click. What I am going to say to you though is I have a process, a method, a way of teaching, a way of pulling out your message for the marketplace so that people really hear you and that you don't ever feel like you're having to mimic what other people are doing. And you're not looking at yourself in comparison to others. This is also another way that you have that idol that you can kind of cross check. Is there somebody that you're comparing yourself to? I was at a conference last week or 2 weeks ago, and it was so beautiful to see how so many voices filled up the room, different messages, and the way that people delivered it was beautiful. It was epic. And we all kind of came to the realization that comparison had just left the room. because we saw these women for who they really were. We saw them for their message. We felt their voice shake our souls. And I was like, it's so amazing to see how comparison can leave the room. But that means that you really got to see the people that you are serving. You can't be looking at the people that you're trying to compare yourself to. That is another way to know if you have an idol or not. Is there somebody that you keep comparing yourself to and you kind of keep checking, am I doing it like them? You don't want to do it like them. That's actually the whole point of identifying your edge in the marketplace. So I want to give you, I wanted to write these questions down. I want to give you 3 things that will help you to build a connection with your audience. The first thing is you want to identify what you believe about your faith, and what you believe about the industry and people that you are serving. I don't mean what other people have told you to believe. I actually mean what you really believe. What do you believe about it? And just kind of do a brain dump on this. And if you can't write fast enough for your thoughts, just open up your notes app. I use Voxer, so use like a walkie-talkie app where you can just press the button and just talk and it will transcribe as long as you have the paid version, but you can transcribe it or just re-listen to it. Just do this brain dump where you start to understand why you believe what, or I should say, what it is you believe. The second thing is why you believe it. If you don't know why you believe something, it's so difficult for you to defend it. If you are showing up online and you're worried about people not liking you, you're worried about the rejection or what other people have to say, it often comes from the fact that you can't defend your stance online. And if you can't defend what it is you're saying, then I ask you, do you really believe what it is you're saying? And if you don't believe it, then that's how you know you've adopted another person's opinion and you've made it your own and you're just running with it. But that's why there's a lack of conviction in your words. There's a lack of conviction in your energy and the way that you're showing up in the marketplace because you're standing on someone else's opinion and not your own truth, whatever that truth is that you stand on, which for me, it's faith and God and the Bible. That's truth. But it's the way that you are doing that and going about that that really matters. So the what and the why. And then number 3 is who and what is changing your expression. When you think about certain people in the marketplace, certain people in your industry, is there somebody that when you see that person, you're either comparing, as I said before, but you realize that they might make you feel a little small or that you make yourself shrink because you think differently than them. And so now you think you're wrong in thinking what you think or believing what you believe because somebody that you've put on a pedestal or that you idolize doesn't believe that or isn't talking about that in the way you're talking about it. This is so critical. Please hear me when I say anything that changes your behavior is this idol. You have submitted to it. You have put this thing on a pedestal, so much so that you are bowing to it. And so I want you to just look at who is it that makes you shrink back? Who is it that makes you play small? Who is it that makes you second guess? Who is it that makes you not feel like you can truly stand on what it is you stand on because they don't believe it, because they're not saying it the way you say it. Again, this boils down to a level of conviction. I've realized over time that my expression and voice, and I should say our expression and our voice, is truly linked to our Creator. He has given us this voice box to speak from, to express from. And one of my favorite verses, as I've been studying the Bible and really understanding what does God have to say about certain things, what does he say about voice? It's in Exodus 4:12, where God has called Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. And Moses is like, who, me? I'm not an eloquent speaker. And God said, I will help you speak and I will teach you what to say. And I was like, totally mind blown because we like to think our voice is ours. And yeah, we are speaking from it. He is speaking through it. And so many times we can speak from our intellect, from our knowingness. But when you start to speak from the wisdom that God is moving through you, you've got an instant connection with your audience. Instant connection, because he's attuned your voice, which means he's also attuned your audience's ears to hear you. And this boils down to allowing God to have your voice, completely submit your voice to him. Doesn't mean you don't study your craft. It just means that you allow him to guide the message. You allow him to guide your intellect. This is something I really had to learn and overcome for myself, because when we get higher education degrees, it's real easy to be like, I know a whole lot of stuff. And yeah, we might know a lot of things, but we don't know everything. And if you're so worried about being judged by what others have to say, you're always going to want to make it look like you have it all together. You're going to always want to make it look like you know exactly what to say all of the time. And that just isn't the case. There is so much to know that you can't possibly know everything. And so you're attempting to make yourself look like you know everything, or you have all the answers, or you have it all figured out. That isn't always the case. Allow him to have your voice. Allow him to guide the message. Allow him to show you things about your voice, show you things about your message. But you could only do that when you have submitted your voice to him and you're not trying to override and only teach from your intellect. Our voice is connected to our body, which means there's a lot of energy that my body right now is pushing into the screen, because I'm really passionate about this topic. It's something I've overcome and what I help my clients with, to the point where I'm getting revved up as I'm talking about it. And so there is a level of energy that's coming through the screen from my experience personally and working with people. But if I was only teaching from intellect, let's say I heard somebody else say this, or I studied it in some psychology book, and I was only speaking from intellect, you wouldn't hear passion. You wouldn't hear conviction. You wouldn't feel me through the screen. You wouldn't still be listening to this video. You would have clicked off. So there is something to say about levels of connection in our ability to connect with what we're saying. Right now, if there's an idol in you, you're looking to stay connected to the idol. You're not looking to get connected to God. And if there's an idol in here, then there's no space for the Lord. So allow him to remove those idols. Allow him to show you what those idols are. Go through that 3-question exercise on what it is you believe, why you believe it, and then looking to see who is it in the marketplace that you keep shrinking for, and allowing your voice to just be suffocated and muted, causing you to feel invisible online. This is why it doesn't matter how much content you put out in the marketplace. You could be pumping out content 3 times a day. Ain't nobody gonna hear you if you have an idol and there is somebody in the marketplace that makes you suffocate your voice like that. You're gonna be doing the effort and doing the action, but this is what I mean when I say we do the inner work, we do the spiritual work. We allow God to really clean out our hearts and like gut it. Like just ask him, dear Lord, like perform some surgery on my heart, do some things in there, pull out all the idols, reveal them to me. And then you start to validate your own process and your own approach of how you help your clients achieve results. And I'm fascinated because even if you have already helped people and you've helped yourself, if you have that idol, you're going to doubt. You're going to feel like you're not good enough. You're going to feel like you still don't know what you're doing, even though you've served people before. You're going to still shrink and you're going to still play small. And so that is why this is important. So if you feel like you're doing all the work and you're taking all the action and you're getting attention, but you're not gaining or building connection, go through those 3 questions. And if you are wanting to find out more information about the Content Legacy program to help you actually dive into your own unique approach and method, you develop your own framework, and then you turn content into an engine that doesn't just attract leads, but it also attracts quality buyers. I will drop a link down below. It is a apply to work with me link. You can fill that out. And I hope to see you in another video. Bye.